Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Divorce-a-Palooza. When people go through a divorce, they feel a lot of anxiety. But today we're going to talk about the anxiety that your dog or your cat might be feeling as well. I have a great guest for this. Her name is Karis Nafte. Karis is a certified dog behavior consultant, an accredited mediator, a speaker, an author, and the founder of her website, Who Keeps the Dog. Hi, Karis.
Hi, Jackie.
So I want to tell everyone who's watching a couple things. Karis has been a dog behavior consultant for what, like 25 years?
Yep.
Okay. So Karis decided to develop a niche in divorce and she helps people mediate what's going to happen with their pets. Karis also speaks on it. She also wrote a great book on the subject. And she also has been through a divorce. So she completely is qualified to talk about this. Karis, when people get divorced, have you heard that the dog gets anxious and has anxiety while they're going through it? Tell me about that.
Yes, it's one of the most common questions people ask me is not just what should we do with our pet, but my dog is stressed and how do I deal with it? My dog is anxious because of everything that's happening. And the way that I help people in that situation is, first of all, to point out that any life change can make your dog anxious. So I think for people, divorce is way up there in terms of the stressful life things that people can go through. And so it's certainly a lot worse for us than other stresses might be. But anything where a dog's routine changes can make them anxious, and where their owners or their guardians' behavior changes, that can also make them anxious. And so my advice in all of these situations is quite similar in terms of, okay, how do you help and how do you support your dog? So, what do we want to think about for an anxious animal, anxious dogs or cats, is first of all to establish why are they behaving in the way they are? Why do we think the anxiety is actually happening? And how can we best help them? So, very
Okay,
quickly,
I'm going to stop you right there because I want to ask you why. Let's tell everyone who's watching why that might be. Maybe they're seeing you cry all the time and they can't handle that. Maybe they're seeing you and your soon to be ex on eggshells and it's making them uncomfortable. Maybe you're fighting. Maybe they're seeing the kids crying. So what are some other things that the dog is seeing that is making them anxious?
exactly. It could be, I mean, some people, no one ever intends to, but some people end up shouting at their animals when they're really stressed. Or
Oh.
maybe there's behavior that previously, your dog might bark and ask for a snack and you thought it was cute, and your temper's so short that you yell at your dog. You say, "Don't do that." And so your change in behavior from out of your normal can really freak your animals out. It's like, what's going on with these people who used to behave this way, now they're behaving that way. Sometimes it's packing things up. So if someone's moving out and someone's packing and the suitcases are out or the boxes are out, that can be really very, very stressful. And certainly the emotions, the crying or not crying, but wanting to cry. Your dogs know if you want to cry, and they probably know better than people do.
Your dogs know so much more than we think. They know what's going on even if you don't think you're showing it.
Yeah. And they've literally proved this by establishing that dogs can smell fear because they can smell adrenaline, they can smell changes in our nervous system, our sweat changes scent when we feel different things. And of course dogs can smell this. I mean, dogs can smell cancer, I mean, their sense of smell is so incredible. So they are very aware when our emotional state changes. And especially if you have, let's say you have a rescue dog, maybe a dog who's been abused in their past, in their previous home. And if animals with that sort of background, if the people around them are suddenly acting, on edge, or they've got a short temper, or they're very emotional, that can be very scary because maybe in the past a dog has been mistreated by someone whose emotions are running a bit hot or a little bit out of control. So all of these things, it's like the sand starts shifting under people's feet when a divorce is happening. And for your animal, who of course you can't explain things to because they do understand us, but they don't actually speak English or Spanish or anything. So they won't understand the context of why everything is happening and what it's doing. So this is my advice to help your animals feel, and even if you can't make it all better, it's like divorce is a process. You have to get through it. So we don't want to pretend that we can just, make everything okay immediately.
Okay, now before you get into the tips, what are the symptoms of a stressed dog? What are people going to be seeing and saying, wait, why is yeah, the dog, but they don't attribute it to stress from the divorce. But what are we talking? A dog maybe stops eating. What else?
Yep. So it can be a dog might stop eating. Their behavior will change in some way that's out of character for them. So you might get a dog that's sleeping a lot. That was like not a very super sleepy dog, but suddenly it's like, wow, gosh, Rover's like sleeping all the time. Or maybe Rover is not sleeping anymore and is busy all the time and pacing around the house. One of the big things that happens a lot for dogs and cats when they're stressed is they start toileting in the wrong place, to put it in a glamorous way or an elegant way. So when dogs and cats pee and poo, when it's like their house training disappears, that is a huge stress sign. Now, what I have to point out, it's really important, especially for cats, is that also if cats are sick, if they have a urinary tract infection, they will often start peeing in the wrong place. So if you think your animal is stressed, like if their behavior has changed in such a dramatic way, first go to the vet, make sure that there's not something physically happening. But it can very likely just be a response to the emotions that are happening in the house. Another common thing that I see, especially if there's children in the picture, is you might see your dog acting kind of grumpy, like maybe they're growling a lot, or they don't want to be cuddled, or they seem to be a little like they've got a short fuse. That's also a common thing that dogs will do. And they can also start behaving a little bit aggressive toward other dogs. So maybe your dog was very friendly and you're at the dog park and you're like, wow, gosh, my dog bit his friend or acted like he was going to. So you will see a change in their behavior out of character for that individual dog. And another common thing, before I forget, is chewing on stuff. And this is where it gets tricky, because we tend to take it very personally when dogs chew on our stuff, understandably, because it's our stuff and we love it. But dogs don't chew on things like in a crafty, vindictive way. They're not that complicated. They're just dogs. But they will, when I say they're not that complicated, they don't like do things out of revenge, like chewing up. They can't be spiteful. Animals can't be spiteful. But what they will do is, if they're stressed, they will chew, because chewing releases dopamine. It makes them happy. It calms them down. And the things that they will want to chew on are the things that smell the most like you. So things like your very favorite shoes, if those are the shoes all the time, your dog's going to chew on them, not because he hates you, but because he loves you. And the smell of, yeah.
And isn't the chewing kind of like working out for a dog? It's like they want to work out. They want to do something like we do. If we're stressed, say, okay, we'll go to the gym. We might feel better.
Exactly.
Wow,
so
that's so interesting.
Yeah. So to negate the wrong chewing of things, give your dog plenty of good chewing things. So now let's move to the tips of stress. So the way, or anxiety or stress, and it's a hazy line. Is your dog stressed? Are they anxious? Whatever it is, there's the best ways to deal with it is to keep their mouth busy, their nose busy, and their legs busy. So if you give dogs good things to chew on, and obviously, make sure it's appropriate for your dog and their age and any health issues they have. But when I say chewing things, I don't mean like a stuffed teddy bear. I mean something that they can chew, that they use their molars on, the teeth at the back of their jaw. That's where the good chewing happens. Something they can safely swallow, or food puzzle toys. Those kind of things are really good. So give your dogs extra chewing opportunities, and give them extra, I call them, or the description for these is a decompression walk. So a decompression walk is, let's say you get a leash that's maybe a little bit longer than normal, and take your dog somewhere, either where they can be safely off the lead, or if they need to be on the lead, like a longer leash, like 6 foot, 10-foot lead, and let them walk. And every time they stop and sniff, you stop and you let them sniff as long as they want. Because sniffing also calms their brain down, settles down all the sort of nervousness that they might be feeling. So this
Well,
kind of
now I feel guilty because before this, I just took my dog out and I was like, come on.
So the best thing for your dog is to do is really to let every time a dog sniffs, it's good. They're concentrating. They're thinking about, they are slowing down. And so this idea that a dog should like focus on you and keep up with you is really not quite the case. Should be, it's
It's
like good
almost
slow.
like sniffing is a dog's yoga and chewing is a dog's cardio, you know?
There you go. There you
Mhm.
go. So those kind of things can really help. And if you see your dog, if your dog is showing their stress by, let's say, maybe they're a little grumpy, maybe they don't seem to be enjoying the kids hugging them as much as they might normally, because obviously kids can be, kind of reach out for support if they're in a house during a divorce. So you as a parent, if that's the case, need to be really aware that your child is not over relying on the dog to meet their emotional needs. So give the dog plenty of space, physical space to sleep. The dog needs a place to sleep where it won't be disturbed, where it can sleep deeply. Don't allow your kids to always go like climb in the dog's bed or pick up the dog if the dog is fast asleep, for example. Those kind of things, give your dog space, can really also help them decompress from the stress that they're feeling.
Well, you need to move into my house because every single person does that. The dog's fast asleep, and one kid will come down and just pick him up because they're like, "You're so cute. I love you." So he's definitely getting enough love, but he's probably like, "Please leave me alone." Karis, thank you so much for being on Divorceapalooza. But I shouldn't have ended this yet because I wanted to let people watching know that you do say in the article you wrote for Divorce Girl Smiling on this that regardless of your dog's reaction to tension at home and or a divorce, please know it's not permanent. So tell us about that real quick.
Yeah. So dogs, people often think that like separation anxiety, for example, is a permanent condition, and it's not. So we can always work with and improve a dog's habituated responses to things. Sorry. Um, so it's not permanent. Just like your own feeling emotional is also not permanent. So take it all with a pinch of salt. In other words, don't take it personally because it's not. And don't worry that your dog is like stuck in this mind frame. Get good advice from professionals about how to work with it. You can read my book. I might as well tell people about my book. My book's got a lot
Please.
of suggestions. Yeah. So my book is available through your website, through my website, and it provides specific tips for people going through divorce with dogs and the stressful things that happen and the way that dogs react to it. But worrying about your dog can make the stress worse. So don't sort of pivot to almost panic about your dog if they seem to be behaving funny. It's like, okay, take a breath, get some good advice, do the simplest, best things you can in order to help your dog de-stress and relax. And as time passes and work with it, your dog will probably just come straight back to their good old self.
Karis, thank you so much for all your great advice.
You're so welcome, Jackie. Thanks for having me on the Divorceapalooza.
And I want to tell everybody watching, here is how Karis can help you. You can go to her website, whokeepsthedog.com. You can find her book there of the same name, Who Keeps the Dog: Navigating Pet Custody During Divorce. You can hire Karis as a speaker if you are a divorce professional listening to this. You can work with Karis to help you decide what's happening with mediation with your dog, what's going to happen to the dog, who's he going to live with. Karis can also work with your divorce team in helping your divorce professionals figure that out. And you can also learn more about Karis in the trusted professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling at divorcedgirlsmiling.com. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.